Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Still? I'm muted? Alright. Can you tell I'm new to live streaming? Can you hear me now? Better? Okay. Okay, cool. I'll try to speak louder so that you guys can hear me. But today's topic is the art of learning how to detach from the past. And, okay, not mute. So you can hear me, yes? Before I keep talking and then I have to take this video down. Okay, cool. All right, thanks. See, that's why feedback's so important. I would have just kept talking mute. Okay, thanks for letting me know. You saved the day because this is going on my YouTube channel. But yeah, I was just talking about, and thanks for liking the live. I appreciate that. Today we're talking about the art of learning how to detach from the past. And the reason that this even became a thing for me was because I deleted my Instagram this week. And that sounds very shallow and not important at all, but I promise you, like, I learned so much just from this week and like permanently deleting my account. I permanently deleted it. In the past, I used to basically deactivate it and then reactivate it and go on and off. But like deep down, I never liked Instagram, but I would still use it. So I don't know. At one point it was fun and then I just stayed on it because everybody else was on it and you know how it goes. But yeah, I got off socials years ago. Good for you. Yeah? Okay, are you off all social media completely, even YouTube, TikTok? Do you use any of them? I'm curious to hear more. It's a big relief. Yeah, it is. So yeah, it is a big relief actually. And I can't believe something so small has affected me so much, but it's been like the best change ever. And I was trying to think about why this makes such a difference for me, like getting off Instagram. But first of all, I think it's already like dying, so I'm almost on the tip of like, I don't want to be the last one to leave the party. Like, you know, like I feel like it's on its way out and like I was still on there. So that was part of why I wanted to delete it, because I feel like it's just not like live on there. Like it's a weird platform in general. But the other thing that made me delete my account, besides just like not understanding how to grow on there and just not enjoying the platform, like I like YouTube a lot and I love TikTok, and that's why I'm always on there, like creating and, you know, interacting. Only YouTube, no Insta, Snap, Facebook, etc. Okay, yeah, I love YouTube. I don't know if that's something that I could go without, but I feel like it's not the same as other social medias because like you can go on there and like learn and stuff, and I don't know, I just like it better. YouTube is kind of a social, but not like the others. Definitely no TikTok. Okay, I'm I'm having a hard time deciding if I want to delete my TikTok or not, because I like the live stream on there, and you know, sometimes I just like the entertainment part. But I know TikTok does a lot for your what's it called, attention span. I just subscribed to your channel. Shout out to Dream Styling Official. Thanks for subscribing. I'm gonna be on YouTube a lot more now that I don't have IG. So wait, let me finish my point about why I deleted IG and why I think it's important and how it relates back to this topic. You just liked and subbed. Thanks so much. Just delete it. I did. I deleted my Instagram this week. That's what we're talking about right now. Someone said, I like YouTube better. Yeah, YouTube is the best. I don't know why. I feel like it's an energy thing, and I don't know. It's social, but it's like different because I guess you can kind of educate yourself too, and you get more control over what you're taking in, rather than like on TikTok. Sometimes I feel like the flaw on that platform is that you're scrolling and you can't really have any control over what you're viewing, even if your algorithm like gets tailored to your interests and stuff. Sometimes it just shows you things that, you know, you're not interested in, or things that have shock value. And then, you know, I don't even know what was going on Instagram. That's why I deleted it. But okay, going back to why I deleted Instagram, like I noticed that, and this is kind of what sealed the deal, because I used to deactivate it and reactivate it. But what made me want to delete it was that I feel like it makes you focus on the past a lot, and in so many different ways, right? Like your photos are all from the past, like of your feed, right? So you're constantly looking at your past photos, your basically your past self. And then you have your archive of like your stories and stuff, so you go back and you want to see like what was happening back then. And then even like in the contacts that you have, it's like people that you met in the past. Like it just has this energy of like, you know, the past. And that's kind of why I wanted to delete it, because I feel like that's something that can really stop you from moving forward and creating the life that you want for yourself, right? So that's today's topic. That's today's YouTube topic, the feminine art of detaching from the past. I feel like I'm low-key an expert in this topic by now, because so many different times I had to purposefully detach from the past. And this is something that I've had to like really on purpose learn how to do, like stop identifying with the past period, especially when I've wanted to make like really big changes in my life. And you know, Instagram is a silly example, but in a way it was keeping me attached to the past, because I've gone through so many different like changes. And like you know, you go through your photos and you can't help but think about like who you were during that time, who you were hanging out with, what your job was, and you kind of just naturally like think a lot about the past on that platform. That is what drove me to delete it, because I'm trying to move on with my life. I'm trying to create something new. Wish I had time to stay, have a good stream. No problem, it's gonna be on my channel later. But that's today's topic. And yeah, that's the main reason why I decided to delete it. It's not really to do with like, I also just don't like the platform itself, but the main reason was because I feel like it keeps you super, super attached to the past. And I feel like that's how Facebook low-key ended up dying out too. I just feel like it's on its way to becoming a little bit irrelevant. And yeah, I could go on a rant about that. But moral of the story, I deleted my Instagram account this week because I feel like it forces you to be attached to the past and to your past identity. And I'm off that. I feel like it's a luxury to always keep reaffirming to yourself things about the past, and that's something that really keeps people stuck. So that's why I decided to talk about it today, even if on the surface this topic seems, you know, a little bit shallow. But you know what I should do? I'm gonna go live on TikTok too, because I feel like this is a good topic for them. So 1 second, but let me know if you guys know what I mean when I talk about how Instagram keeps you attached to the past. Okay, we're live on TikTok now. My TikTok, if you're watching this on YouTube, is, I don't even know what my TikTok is. Wait. Oh, at Dream Styling Works. I don't know how to do it on my mobile to put it in the chat, but at Dream Styling Works is my TikTok. So yeah, let me know if you know what I mean about Instagram's energy being off, and if you've already deleted your account, maybe I'm the late one. You guys let me know. But that's what I wanted to start with. Thanks for liking this live on YouTube, on TikTok. I appreciate it. So yeah, I deleted my account because it helped me, it basically kept me tied to old photos, my old identity, my old contacts, my old versions of myself. That's what I felt like, you know, Instagram was doing to me. And you know, you could say it's not that deep, but low-key I feel like sometimes it is that deep. Like I really feel like it was that deep for me. And sometimes the only thing you can do to like combat things is to opt out. And I feel like I opted out of that environment of whatever's happening on that platform. So that's what today's video is about. Thanks for joining this live stream. Okay, we're talking about basically how to detach from the past, why it's important. I started this TikTok live stream a little bit late, but I just went into why I deleted my Instagram. If you missed the beginning, you can always watch on my YouTube channel. But the bigger conversation today is learning about why letting go of the past is necessary to step into your full, you know, I'm a woman, so I'm gonna say womanhood, but just into your full maturity, Part of that is learning how to let go of your past and not constantly reaffirm to yourself things about the past. And, you know, this is something I've consciously done for a long time. So, you know, the more that you practice things, the more it just starts to feel like a natural thing that you do. You don't even think about it, right? It heads into, hold up, my TikTok is, yeah. The more that you practice something, the more you become what they call like unconsciously aware. So you do it without even realizing. And one of my unconscious awareness, like one of the things that I do unconsciously now, is I don't think about the past. Like I rarely think about the past. I don't bring my past into right now to try to like make a point. Like I really low key have trained myself to stop identifying with the past, period. So that is kind of what led me into deleting my Instagram account this week permanently. Am I late? Did you guys delete your account already? But that's what led me into deleting it, because I feel like it was forcing me to identify with my old self, my old life. And you know, life is long. We recreate ourselves over and over and over and over and over again. You know what I mean? So I wanted to delete my account, realign myself, and especially I'm somebody who loves the fall. I love the winter, I love the fall, and I feel like this second half of the year is like in a way its own new year. Like I like setting goals for the fall and for the winter time. It's kind of like the second half. I feel like so many exciting things always happen in the fall and in the winter. And part of something I do when I want to create like a really big change, like you guys like the word manifesting, right? Like when I want to manifest, when I want to create a really big shift in my life, one of the most important things I do that I've seen works is stop thinking about the past, period. Like stop identifying with the past. And you start to like, I don't know how to explain, but you know, there's people who talk about this way better than I ever could, why this works, like from a scientific and like, you know, logical understanding. Dr. Joe Dispenza always talks about this, you know, how what you reaffirm to yourself is basically what becomes true. So thanks for liking this live on TikTok. I appreciate it. We're talking about learning how to detach from the past. And I went into a story time about why I deleted my Instagram and how I feel like Instagram as a platform is just basically like the energy of the past. Like Instagram gives past energy, past life. So I deleted it because I don't want to constantly thinking about that. So like I said, one of the biggest things that trained me to, like, when I want a really big change, right? The first thing I do, if I had to like write it down in like steps to follow, is I literally stop thinking about the past, stop identifying with the past version of myself, and I start to basically tell myself a new story. So I literally like train my mind to start viewing myself in a new way, and I don't like let anything else take me off of like believing that, you know what I mean? So what I've done in the past is I've used that, yeah, reprogram your mind, exactly. Like I've literally like, when I'm about, like when I have a really big goal or something that has to happen like immediately, like the last thing, I'm in a different place in life now, but the last time where I made a huge change was when I moved, like from my previous apartment to where I live now. That was the last like big major change, I think, that I can remember, where I had to like manifest something quick. And it was basically, you know, without seeing too much, I was in a situation, okay, my roommate was on one. Like she was on one, and it was super uncomfortable to live there. I was in Miami. I was trying to figure out something, like I needed to move ASAP. I needed somewhere to move. And where it's hard, okay, to like find an apartment in such a short notice. And I kid you not, guys, like I was able to manifest exactly where I wanted to live and in the exact style of apartment I wanted to live. But also keep in mind that I was under a lot of pressure. So anyways, what I'm saying is that I definitely know how to manifest. Someone said, by rejecting all pop culture, you can find the right way to grow up. I definitely know what you mean. You're saying that you know, rejecting mainstream media is a really big way to create change. Absolutely. That's why I'm incrementally like trying to spend less time on social media, which is ironic because I'm on social media right now, but I'm using it with intention, you know, like with purpose. But that's why I deleted Instagram, because I was like taking in so many things that I don't even care about, and then you end up like thinking about it because you're taking it in all the time, and you know that really takes away your energy and your attention from things that you could be doing, you know. Change the way you think so you can change the way you feel. Yeah, exactly. So the biggest thing I want to say is that part of changing the way you think so you can change the way you feel, manifest whatever it is that you want in your life, is you have to stop thinking about the past, identifying with the past, bringing up the past at any moment just to like just stop making the past relevant. Like really start thinking of the past as completely irrelevant, and come right into what's happening right now, what's happening in the present day. Who are you right now? What are you doing right now? And then also thinking about obviously your future, right? Projecting like the vision that you want to happen. The first thing you have to do is stop thinking about the past. And it sounds simple, but okay, so like I was saying, this is something I unconsciously do now. So when it comes up, thanks for liking this live. I appreciate it. One sec. How is everybody, by the way? How's summer going? End of summer now. What was I saying? Thanks for liking the live. Yeah, I forgot what I was saying, but yeah. Anyways, you gotta stop thinking about, because this is something that wellness is cool. Thanks. Because this is something that I've unconsciously taught myself how to do, like repeatedly, like stop identifying with my past period. When it comes up in conversation, like when I notice somebody bring up the past, like it almost is like something that really stands out to me a lot, that I think is very different between me and other people, because I don't do that. Like I don't think about, but I trained myself like this, so I know it's not natural. I know that it's natural to like try to make sense of what's happening right now and try to predict where your future is going to go based on what's happened before. You know, like I know that's like a natural behavior, but you know, I purposefully trained myself to stop doing that so that I can create really big transformational changes in my life. And when I notice somebody else doing it, it's something that really sticks out now as like something that's very, very different. And sometimes, you know, it can be a little bit of a hard way for me to connect with people sometimes, because that's not something that I do. Like I don't think about the past. I don't, you know, so many things happen in such a short amount of time that it feels like a lot of time has passed sometimes for me without even that being the case. You know what I mean? So training yourself to not do this, I'm just saying, is key to like, it's awesome. Okay, especially if you're wanting to change, if you're wanting to manifest, if you're wanting to like really realize your dreams and see that kind of stuff come true. That's one of the things you have to do, is stop constantly reaffirming to yourself things about the past. Thanks for liking this live. I appreciate it. God loves you. Thank you. God loves you too. True. Yeah. So do you guys know what I mean? Do you know what I mean when I say how important this is to stop identifying with the past? Let me know. And if you're watching this on YouTube, let me know where you're watching from. Okay? So, yeah. You said yes? Okay, cool. So, yeah. That's basically how I ended up deleting my Instagram account, was because I don't want to look at old content. I don't want to look at old people I used to know. I don't want to reminisce on like my past life, you know, going through my photos like, oh yeah, I remember when I was doing that. And you know, you just take yourself out of right now. You start putting yourself back into the mind of like who you were before, who you were hanging out with before, how things used to be. That's not my what's it called? That's not my reflex anymore to like think about how things used to be. Like, no, I don't want to think about how things used to be. I want to think about how things are right now. I want to think about where I want to go next. And I can't do that if I'm constantly looking back. You know what I mean? So that's my personal take on, deleting Instagram and why I did that. But the bigger picture of, thank you, the bigger picture of why I did that is because I noticed that it reinforces old narratives onto you when you're constantly looking at the past. And yeah, so I deleted it. And I think that if you're constantly reaffirming to yourself who you were before, it definitely might be one of the things that's blocking you if you're trying to create a change and you haven't seen it yet. I think that's one of the most common blocks that gets in your way of who you are trying to become. And I have so many examples of this that I don't even know where to start, but trust me when I say that it's true. Can we look at our past to help our present? I mean, I think that's the natural thing that people do, but I think if you don't do that, you're better off. Someone said, Instagram shows you that the people closest to you will never show love or support you. I've heard that, but you know what I also think it is? I think it's partially how Instagram is set up, like just the platform itself. I think it's set up that way to make you believe that everyone's an op. But it's like literally just the way the platform is. That's low-key why I got off of it too. I don't like the way the actual platform is set up. It's like designed that way. It's so weird. Wasn't it the first platform? No, it was Facebook, right? The first platform to introduce like likes on your content. Was that Facebook or Instagram? It's just strange. But yeah, full of advertising now too. Yeah, see, that's part of it too. I couldn't even figure out the dang algorithm. I couldn't figure out what I was looking at. So yeah. Okay, I definitely will pray for you after this. I can see all the comments after the live stream, so I'll keep you in my prayers for sure. You're gonna be okay. All right, so we have to stop constantly reaffirming to ourselves things about the past, our identity about the past, because that is what's going to block you from becoming who you want to be. Trust me on this, okay? Trust me on this. And one of the most common ways that I see this come up is like when I'm talking to someone, and you probably have seen this too, where it's like people will explain their behavior from right now because of something in the past. So like, for example, I'll be in conversation with someone and then it's like, that one of their behaviors comes up and they're like, okay, well, I do this because, when I was 4 years old, this happened, and now ever since that happened, I always do this. Like, that's just who I am now. That's a perfect example of reaffirming your past to like enable you in the present. And I empathize with that, right? I totally understand why people do that. Hi from Sri Lanka. Hi, thanks for joining today's live. We're talking about detaching from the past. That's today's topic. How we speak to ourselves matters big time. Yeah, exactly. And that's why I'm big on not using the past as like the standard to compare yourself to anymore, period. I think that's a kinder way of speaking to yourself. Like you can train yourself to believe new things if you're more focused on the future and on right now as opposed to the past. And not to get too like, I don't know what's the word, but not to get too, I don't know, ethereal. But like, if you think about it, this might be a controversial take. I feel like the past is low-key irrelevant. Like, I really do feel that way for the most part. So I think that's part of why I came up with this topic today too, because I don't think it has any relevance beyond what you give it. And like I was saying, I totally empathize with people who refer to their past a lot if they haven't processed their emotions or their feelings about some kind of past incident, right? And I feel like that's the role of therapy, right? Like that's the role that therapy plays, is helps you process emotions, feelings that might be stuck in the past. But eventually, you know, we're all into like this healing and wellness and stuff, but eventually you can't heal forever. Like life is gonna do its thing, life is gonna life. Therapy is a good vehicle to get you processing things, that major things that happen that might, you know, have an effect on you to this day. That's very real. But at a certain point, you do have to kind of decide, like, okay, I'm healed now. Like, I can move on with my life without being completely defined by what happened, like, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, even childhood, you know? Like, the more that you bring it up, the more relevant it is for you. And you guys know, like, you speak things over yourself, you speak things over your life the more that you say it. So if you're like, I'm, you know, I can't have a healthy relationship because when I was a kid, my parent was an asshole, and you just keep saying that to yourself, like, you're gonna block yourself. You're gonna block yourself from having a healthy relationship because your belief system tells you that you're not capable of one because of what happened before, you know? So I'm just, once you get past the therapy and the processing and all, you know, we do need to go through that phase, especially if you have a complicated past or you have like real shit that has happened to you, like, hello, you know, a lot of us do. Once you work through that in that space, you have to, you know, really train yourself to be forward thinking if you're trying to like not just be okay, like actually trying to like live life, you know what I'm saying? Like actually trying to like live your best life, actually trying to make things happen. Like if you're an ambitious person, you know. I had to end of truth. Okay, so you know what I'm talking about. If you missed the beginning part of this live stream, it's going to be on my YouTube channel, so sorry if you came in the middle and you don't know what I'm talking about. I had to end a friend of 20 years over him being negative and toxic all the time. Hey, you know, yeah, that's a real thing too. Is like your friends definitely influence you a lot, and people that you spend a lot of time with influence you a lot. And the thing is that you can't force people to think exactly how you do. You can't force people to like, even if it's a positive thing, you can't force them into it. Like you can't force somebody to like come up. They have to do their own, they have to go through their own process to get there. And even sometimes, somehow you become, if they're not ready, you can easily become like their enemy somehow. Someone said, hi, thanks for joining this live on YouTube. Let me know where you're watching from and leave a like on the live stream. If you're enjoying today's topic, we're talking about detaching from the past. Yeah. What are you trying to say? I'm talking about detaching from the past. That's today's topic. Speaking of living our best life, what is your dream car? My dream car, I'm not really that into cars, but if I could have any car, I would say, like, not thinking about parking, like just in my fantasy world, I would say like a Range Rover, a really nice Range Rover with like custom interior. Yeah. Let me know if you could hear me on TikTok, by the way. Is there static? Depending on the past. AMG Black Series GT Coupe. See, I don't know cars like that, so I have no idea what that car is, but it sounds fancy. All right, like this live stream if you're enjoying today's topic on YouTube and on TikTok. We're talking about detaching from the past. All right, so hold up. Oh, cool. Okay, I have to turn off my notifications when I'm on live. But yeah, so we're talking about detaching from the past. We're talking about, thanks for liking this live. You're the best. Like this live stream on YouTube too if you're enjoying today's topic. But basically, I feel like constantly reaffirming things to yourself from the past is a trap. Like there's a trap of like retelling these old stories, these old narratives to yourself. it's a trap, and actually it's going to hurt you a lot, and it's going to prevent you, and you're going to be like blaming the world, blaming the person, blaming your partner about why things aren't working out. Whole time it's just you, because you can't let go, you know? Like that can really become your own problem. Do you believe in out of sight, out of mind? I feel like that how I detach from the past bit by bit. Do I believe out of sight, out of mind? I do. I do. I feel like that's basically what they mean when they say living in the present moment. And I feel like if you're thinking about something that's not happening to you right now, your mind is completely somewhere else, right? It's in the past, it's in the future, it's not in the present. So I think that's the same thing as living in the present moment. And I do think it helps you detach. Definitely. Yeah. So that was a good question. Yeah. So we have to stop telling ourselves this old stories. And what do I mean by old story? Okay. So I use the example of like talking to someone and then they bring up something that happened in there. Hey, Vanessa, join my live stream. What's up, girl? We're talking about detaching from the past on YouTube and on TikTok. Like the live stream if you like today's topic. But yeah, so, and I was telling them how I deleted Instagram this week. And how I feel like Instagram is like the definition of the past. Like it feels like high school reunion on there. And we're trying to say bye so we can live our best, you know? So yeah, we have to stop constantly reaffirming who we were before, because that blocks us from the person that we're trying to become. She said, yes, no more toxic social media. Yeah, I do think that one is like, that platform is really toxic. It really is. And I was even watching this TikTok video on like how one of the weird features of of Instagram is like when you swipe up on your stories and you see the people that are liking it, it makes it so easy for people to like low-key start a relationship with someone through something that's kind of secretive. So it's so many different weird things about that platform, right? So training ourselves to not reaffirm who we were before is going to help you become the person that you want to be now. And for example, being tied to our childhood stories, it doesn't matter how long something like that happened. It could be like 20 years ago and we'll still use it as an excuse for why we can't get something done today. If I thought that way, I would be like, you know, who knows where I would be. I had to train myself to stop doing that. Like I feel like in a way that's a luxury, to keep reaffirming yourself things to the past and have all of these kinds of stories, because you know what it is, it's like an excuse. It keeps you comfortable, it keeps you in a certain state emotionally, and it stops you from really doing the challenging work of like trying to change your life. Like it's not like that's easy, you know? So how convenient when you really want something, how all of these excuses, all of these stories from the past, oh, I can't do it because this happened. I can't do that thing because this person said I was dumb. So now like we do that in a way to sabotage ourselves too, right? So being tied to our childhood stories, like I said, there's a place for that. There's like a space for that. That's therapy, right? Like that's real beneficial work for a lot of people. And then you get to a point where you work through it and now it's time to move on. Now it's time to start thinking with a forward mentality, or at least come into the present. And that's where real change happens. Thanks for liking the live. So yeah, the reason that I titled this video on YouTube, Girlhood to Womanhood, the feminine art of detaching from the past, is because I feel like the past version obviously is your younger self, right? So I'm gonna just be cheeky and call it like your little girl energy, or if you're a man, your little boy energy. So every time you bring the past into right now, you're channeling your inner little boy, you're channeling your inner little girl. And we already know our younger self, our child self, was what? Immature, right? And they cling to unhealthy things to help them cope because they don't know better, because they're young, they're little. For example, little girl energy, how does that manifest in a woman's life? Clinging to validation. Like, that's a little girl energy, little girl behavior. Grown woman energy, you write your own story. You recreate yourself into who you say you are, who you say you want to be. Right? Yeah, I think most people are narcissistic towards themselves and sabotage their full potential. Yeah, I've been learning a lot about narcissism, and it's such a rabbit hole. Once you start learning about what that means, a lot of people probably have some kind of narcissistic trait, right? And I was reading something about Instagram, speaking of narcissism, about how it, I mean, I guess you could say that about all social media, but basically what it does is it inflates your sense of self. Like, you think about yourself in a real, it makes you think about yourself in like a really superior way. Okay, so like I said, when you're grown, right? I don't accept co-host on the live stream. Okay, so let me know if that makes sense. That like your little girl energy is the person that you're channeling when you're thinking about the past a lot and bringing it into today, trying to make something relevant that is no longer relevant, period. And I've seen people do this in their career where they will, not even career, but like I've seen people do this thing where they think about the past, or they bring up like, you know, maybe something actually very positive, like something that was like a win for them, like and they talk about it as if that was their peak, and like something better is never going to happen. Like, they feel like their boat has sailed, like that was their peak. And it's like, if you keep saying that, if you really believe that, then that is going to be your peak. You know what I mean? So we do have to stop speaking that way over our own life and thinking that our best days were behind us, you know? Because the more that you believe that and the more you say that, the more true that's going to be. Like, me personally, like, I knew high school wasn't going to be my peak, bro. I kept telling myself, well, all the things I'm going to do once high school's over, once I move, all of these, you know, fun and vivacious things I was going to do with my life. And I did all of them. My challenge right now is trying to brainstorm what I want to do next, because I went check, check, check. Like, I low-key did a lot of the things that I said I was going to do and that I wanted to do. Yeah, Instagram specifically makes everything superficial. Yeah, there's something about I like how the live is turning into a like Instagram bashing session. But yeah, there's something about Instagram that is just not it, bro. Like, it's not it. It definitely does. And I posted that on my Substack, and somebody said something really, should I read it? It's kind of out of pocket. Should I read it? Yes or no? You guys need to subscribe to my Substack, by the way. But yeah, Instagram's dead. Okay, so moving on to my next point, bigger topic. Identity is a choice. I personally believe in the art of recreating yourself and like reinventing yourself constantly. I feel like that's something that I live by. Like, that's probably one of my core values, is constantly reinventing myself, constantly recreating myself, and like creating a new like version of myself. I live by that. I think that's a beautiful thing, and I think that's something that shows that you really are growing as a person when your life changes often, when you make these big massive changes, sometimes questionable to other people, often. Like, that's how you know you're growing, right? So I think it's an art. I think your identity is a choice. I think that it's something that you have to constantly reaffirm to yourself when it comes to your identity. You have to constantly tell yourself that, especially when you're trying to make a change, that you are now this person. Like, you get to choose your identity. You don't have to. This is kind of the bigger point of what I was talking about today, is that you don't have to live your life from that past identity. You don't have to live there, like, in your mind. That's a choice. Like, that's a choice to keep telling yourself that, like, it's always going to be this way because that's how it always was, or you are this way because of XYZ that happened. You choosing to identify with that and not tell yourself a different story because that's all it is just a story. If it's not happening to you right now, that's a choice. So in a way, your identity is a choice. What's something you've done that was outside of your comfort zone, but it helped you grow? That's a good question. Something outside of my comfort zone that helped me grow recently or just in general? Let me think. That's a good one. Oh, I would say like socializing a lot. Like I've gone through phases where I've been like super, super social. And sometimes that definitely feels out of my comfort zone to like do it so often and like always be here or there and, you know, like talk to new people and stuff. So I would say like being very, very social. Like I definitely had an era where I was like super, super social. That was something that was outside of my comfort zone that also helped me grow because it introduced me to like so many new people and in a way helped me create a network of like even some clients that I have to this day. So perfect example, one time I went to I don't even know what you would call it. It was like a workshop for entrepreneurs and like people into personal development, and it was in Miami. It was for 3 days and I went there by myself, and then I just made friends when I went there, you know. But that was like the first time I ever traveled by myself, like not with someone or not going to meet somebody I know. Like I literally made friends when I went there and I'm still friends with some of those people to this day, and some of the people I met there ended up becoming my clients, and that was pretty scary for me at the time, even though now I would do it, you know, without hesitation because I already did. But like traveling somewhere like that by yourself without knowing anyone, that was something that I did. Everything feels wrong when you don't know yourself. Be yourself. That's the right thing. Nobody can do it instead. Exactly. That's why we're talking about creating our identity and not having it be something that is just assumed because of the past. That's a really good point. So here's a quick run through. If you guys are new to my channel, you should definitely subscribe. If you're not subscribed, by the way, my YouTube channel, I don't even know what it's called. I keep changing the name, but my YouTube is linked on my TikTok. And if you're watching this on YouTube, then you're already on my YouTube channel, which is great. But so here's some, if you're not familiar with my personal story, here are some examples of how I recreated my identity. And I'm going to continue to do it because that's literally how I create change in my life. It's how I've shifted careers. It's how I've entered new relationships. It's just lit. So the earliest example that I can think of where I recreated my identity and started seeing that, you know, your identity is actually something that you can choose. It's something that you can kind of impose over your own life. And I remember like the first time I ever came to the realization, it actually gave me anxiety. But now I think it's something that's super empowering, that your life is under your own authority, right? Like if you succeed, if you don't succeed, yeah, Dream Styling Official, yeah, that's my YouTube channel. If you succeed, if you don't succeed, like ultimately that's your doing, your fault. You can blame whoever you want, but ultimately that falls on you, right? Because it's your life. So I remember when I first like started realizing that, it was like, I guess early college days, like out of high school, and it was like, wow, like everything falls on me now. And even because of my own personal circumstances at that time, it was really, really true. Like literally every choice I make from this point on is going to be my responsibility. And while that can be really scary, it's also very empowering because you can start to like create your life brick by brick from the ground. And that's exactly what I did. And the first thing I did, funnily enough, and I like to think about this, God or live by coincidence? God or live by coincidence? What do you mean? What does that mean? Live by coincidence. I'm live. But one of the ways that I recreated my identity early on was when I became an artist. Like I did music for a long time. I was in the music industry for like 5-ish years. So that was a while, you know? And I just literally decided I was an artist. It wasn't like someone told me that I was talented or, you know, it was like this whole thing. Like I literally one day was like, I could barely play piano either. Like I knew a few chords, and then I just started uploading songs. And then when I left and I moved and I started college and I started, creating my own life, I was like, yeah, I'm an artist. I changed my name to Renacita for every platform, and I started uploading music under that title. I did music videos. It was like, this is who I am now. Like, I'm an artist now, right? And then fast forward a few years, right? So that was my first time that I could think that I really recreated who I was. And that was really cool because that just goes to illustrate like how when you're recreating your identity, you have to like really own your voice. And music is a good example because you're literally writing lyrics, you're singing things that are coming from your heart, you know what I mean? And part of recreating yourself is really learning how to own your voice. And I think the music is a good example of that. But that's the first time that I can remember really recreating myself. And then I became like an artist, and that was my identity. And then fast forward a few years later, I mean creation or evolution without intelligent supervision. Okay, still not clear what you're asking, but I would say creation. I would say creation because I believe in God. Hope that answers your question. But yeah, so that was my first time that I recreated my identity. If you're just joining this live on YouTube or on TikTok, we're talking about detaching from the past. Okay, the next identity recreation thing. Okay, and this is a quick note. I wasn't even going to talk about this, but toxic relationships, right? Your past relationship, say you had a relationship, it didn't go to plan, you consider that relationship toxic. Before you go on to your next one, you have to let go of the person you were in that one, because it does take two, right? So that's another place in life where I feel like your identity plays a really big role, because if you don't let go of that identity and you don't rework it and reframe it in your own mind of like how you're viewing the world, you're just gonna repeat it, right? So that just came to mind. But the next area of my life where I was like, I'm recreating myself, this is who I am now, was years later, after I did the whole music thing, modeling, and I was like ready for something new, ready to kind of become somewhat of a professional. I'm like, all right, now I'm a writer. Like, I love writing. I actually love writing. Like, I always did. But, that was also an identity shift before it was a physical shift in my career. Like, I had to decide in my mind that I am a writer, period. Like, I had to, and then there's things that you do in the physical. You have to create a portfolio, you have to learn about the industry, you have to figure out a way to get in, right? But before that even happened, I had to decide inside that, I'm a writer now. I'm now a professional, like coming out of the creative industry, if that makes sense. So that was the next area of my life where I feel like I recreated my identity. Just to show you guys that your identity is literally flexible. It's literally whatever you decide it is at any given moment. And this can work for you or against you. You can tell yourself positive stories about who you are, or you can tell yourself and reaffirm to yourself stories about the past, negative things. Whatever you speak over yourself is what comes true, okay? Whatever you really believe, that's what becomes manifest. Okay, the next, so I have to fake my identity. I wouldn't say fake it, but if you're trying to make a change in your life, you have to align. I'll use the word align instead of fake. You have to align with that new identity, if that makes sense. The next area of my life where that also showed me that identity is a choice, where I had to kind of recreate myself. Hold on one second. Okay, let me know if it pauses on TikTok. The next area of my life where I had to, again, wrestle a little bit, create a new identity for myself. And obviously, this is figurative language, right? I'm not literally changing my name and I'm not doing that. But it's more like an internal process of like seeing yourself in a different way, showing up in a different way. The next thing that I saw really had an impact on my identity, where I had to like learn how to become new again, like reinvent myself, was moving through different neighborhoods. I noticed that every neighborhood I lived in had a different identity attached to it, if that makes sense. What's some positive affirmations you love to say to yourself? Positive affirmations. I just read this book that I shared on my TikTok. called, it was by Sandra Ray, and she has a bunch of affirmations in there about like loving your body. And one of the things that I do now that I learned from that book is before you eat, obviously it's good to be mindful of the food you're eating because it affects like your digestion and literally how that food impacts you. And one of the affirmations in that book was like, before you eat anything, obviously you can pray, you should pray, but you can also affirm things to yourself while you're eating. So one of the things I affirm to myself sometimes is like, everything I eat turns to health and beauty. That's one of the things that I say lately. But it's changed. It's been different in the past. But I love that book. That book is really good. Some other affirmations. At one point, my other favorite affirmation was, I have more than enough time and energy to do all the things I want to do. Like, because sometimes we convince ourselves that we don't have enough time or like we're tired, and it's not even true. It's just starting to become true because we keep saying that. So I have to reaffirm to myself that I have more than enough time, I have more than enough energy, right? Like, it's just a different way of thinking. But other ways I've recreated my identity has showed up in, when you like that, okay, I hope you use that if it's helpful for you. But when I've moved, I noticed that every neighborhood, every community I've lived in had a different identity attached to it too. And that's why I say it's so important to let go of the past, because it's almost like your past identity won't work in that new environment, if that makes sense. So it's like, perfect example, when I went into like being a professional, I had to in some ways adjust my identity to let go of like some aspects of how it is to work in a creative industry. Not completely, like not for myself, but just to adapt to that new industry, if that makes sense. So when I moved neighborhoods, it's the same thing. It's like some of your behaviors, your way of thinking is not going to work in this new neighborhood, in this new environment. And that's definitely probably, out of all of these examples that I shared, the biggest identity change I've had just in general in life has been through moving. Like, I've had to change a lot. And every reinvention requires letting go of your old identity. That's the message that I came on here to share with you guys today. Every reinvention requires letting go of your old identity. So we have to train ourselves to stop being so attached to the past, because that truly does get in the way of all the things that we really, really want to do, that we sometimes feel is not even possible. It is possible, but your attachment to the past may be what is blocking you from getting there, if that makes sense. Let me know. But I see that my live is going into an hour, and it wasn't supposed to be that long, so I might do a part 2 to this video because I think it's a good topic. Let me know if you enjoy this live. Leave me a like on the screen on my YouTube and on my TikTok. If you missed the beginning, you can watch the beginning on my channel. All right, I'm gonna let you guys go. Thanks so much for joining today's live, and I'll see you guys on my next one. Bye. Bye TikTok, and bye.